Hello, 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 hello. So, as you can see, I'm wearing my hat because I was sitting here thinking, you know, I can do whatever I want because I'm at home, you know? And so I thought about it and I was like, you know what? I'm not allowed to do as a teacher. Wear a hat. So I'm going to wear a hat. Um, yeah. So this is my decision that I've made. Just so you know, I don't ever wear hats. And you can tell that this is obviously probably Coach Wagner's hat because it says Texans on it. I mean, I love the Texans, but definitely his team. Okay, anyways, online you have the notes for inequalities and equations. The reason why is because they have the exact same steps. There's only one big difference on inequalities, and we'll talk about that on Wednesday, because Wednesday we're talking about inequalities. Today we're just talking about equations. Okay, so I'm going to go over the problems that are in the notes step by step, but then you can actually look at the notes on your own just to kind of see it written out again. Okay, so I'm just telling you that so that you know it's in Google Classroom. There is a Pear Deck for practice. And then, so if you want to do the Pear Deck for practice and things like that, and I can look over it like your work and things like that. But the assignment is on Google Form and it is called Solving Equations. It'll be linked up with this too. So it'll be the video, the notes. So you'll have the video, the notes, the Pear Deck, and then in the classwork tab, it'll say, I think it says like 4-6 solving equations. So, probably says WAGs on it too. So with a Z, because I'm super corny like that. It's fine. Okay, so let's get into it. So the big thing with solving equations, the first step, the big thing. Okay, so the weird part with solving equations is you're kind of going backwards of PEMDAS. So on PEMDAS, you do adding and subtracting last. So because we're going backwards to try to figure out what x is. So if you remember when we do our one steps, so if you remember like x minus 3 equals 10, you're sitting there going, duh, Ms. Wagner, it's 13. Okay, good. Process, right? We're going to do the process though, but I like that you're doing that math in your head. But I like to put my thinking down on paper, right? Or whiteboard here. It's fine, whatever. I like to put it down so I can see it, right? So if you remember, we do the inverse operation. So remember that word inverse, okay? Inverse is a fun little word that I kind of think of like reverse. Like, so we're going to reverse it. Put my thing down, flip it, and reverse it, right? It's a Missy Elliott reference if you didn't catch it. If you didn't catch it, I'm sorry. Because Missy Elliott's the bomb. She was cool when I was younger. And then she performed with maybe Katy Perry at a Super Bowl. And she was awesome. So if you do not know her music, you can go check out her music since you have time sometimes, maybe on the weekends or instead of sleeping in, right? So Missy Elliott. Okay, so yeah. Okay, anyways, back to the math. By doing the inverse operation, we're kind of just doing the reverse. We're doing the opposite. So in here, the inverse of subtraction is addition, right? So if you remember on PEMDAS, if you remember on PEMDAS, wow, that's ugly. I'm so sorry. PEMDAS. There we go, that's better. If you remember, these are all levels, right? So adding and subtracting go together and they undo each other, right? Multiplying and dividing go together and they undo each other. Okay, exponents parentheses are by themselves. They're special. Okay, so we're going to do the inverse of subtraction. Hopefully you're already thinking, oh, okay, so that means addition. Awesome, perfect. Okay, so we're going to add 3. Okay, now the other big thing is that whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to do the other. So remember, this is kind of like a cute little seesaw, right? It's like a little seesaw, right? And then this is where it balances, right? That's the balance beam. If you never have like a little seesaw, you know, right? So this side has to be balanced with the 10. So if I add 3 over here, I have to also add 3 over here. It's like if I had kids on a balance, right? If I'm gonna add 3 onto this side, add 3 onto that side, right? Okay, keep it balanced. So a -3 and a +3 end up getting me 0, so we say it cancels them out. So then on this side over here, what's left is just the x by itself. And then over here, I have 10 plus 3, which would get me 13, which is what some of you were already thinking in the first place, that 13 has to go here because 13 minus 3 equals 10, which is perfect. Beautiful job. Okay. Now, if you're sitting there going, okay, cool, that was easy, Miss Wagner. I know how to do that. Good. Because now it's going to get harder. Okay. So now what we're talking about is if I have 2x plus 3 equals 9. Try to do that in your head. You think you can? I don't want you to. Remember, thinking down on the paper. Put your thinking down on the paper. Okay. All right. Sorry. I had a moment. Okay. So let's try it. Okay, so I told you before that it's like we're doing the backwards of PEMDAS, right? So on PEMDAS you do adding and subtracting last. So on here you're gonna do it first because the big thing is we want to get this x, this variable. Remember a variable? It stands for something. I want to get it to be by itself and alone. Okay. Well, right now it's really attached to this 2. This is multiplication, so it's really important. So we can't mess with this just yet. We have to go with the lonely part right over here. This part's alone. It's further away from the variable, so it's really lonely. So we're gonna get rid of this one first, okay? It has to go home first, right? So once again, this is my balance. So I'm just gonna put a line right there so you know that that's kind of like where we're balancing. We're balancing this side and to this side. Okay, that equal sign tells us we're balancing it. Okay. Ooh, there's a nice little glare. Okay. All right. Just making sure you guys can see this. Okay. All right. So if I have 2x plus 3, I'm going to get rid of this 3 first. Okay. But if you notice, it's right now it's an adding sign. So the inverse of a positive is a negative. So I'm going to get rid of 3 from the side. But whatever I do to one side, hopefully you said it, I have to do to the other side. Good. 3 minus 3 would get me 0, so I cancel it out. And I'm left with 2x over here. Should be equal to 9 minus 3, which is 6. You should have said 6. Perfect. Good. I know you did it. I'm proud of you. So then I have 2x equals 6. So if you remember when they're close together like that, that means to multiply. Okay? It means to multiply. So the inverse of multiplying is... You should have said division. Perfect. Okay. I hope you did. This is going to be like these awkward pauses where you're not actually answering. Let's pretend like we're in class, shall we? No, you have another tab open. You should close it and listen more. That was me waiting for you to close your tabs. You better close your tabs. Okay, anyways. Okay. So the inverse of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide by 2. Ooh. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. If you remember, this line here means to divide, right? I always like to think of it like, oh, here's I have a number on top, and I have a number on top in a line. Oh, look, it looks like a division symbol, right? So 2 divided by 2 equals 1. So we say that it cancels it out. So then we just have x. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So x would be equal to 3. Okay, x would be equal to 3. Okay, let's do another one. We're just going to keep doing these until we can get it figured out. Sorry, I have to figure out my computer. Okay. Sorry, that was probably a really pretty face. I don't watch these videos back, so I always just hope that I don't look super ridiculous, but I know I do because I'm wearing this hat. So the next one we're going to do is 5x minus 8 equals 22. If you haven't written that down yet, You don't really have to, because I'm going to do it after I finish balancing. I have a very flat head. I think I could probably balance a lot of things on my head. That'll be the next thing in the video, is me balancing stuff on my head. Okay, 5x minus 8 equals 22. Hear that out loud, that is. Okay, anyways, all right, 5x minus 8 equals 22. So hopefully you're sitting there thinking, okay, addition, subtraction comes first. So this one has a subtraction. So I'm going to look at my subtraction. I'm going to say the inverse of subtraction is addition. Yep, addition. So we're going to add 8. Add 8. Whoop. That's a terrible line. Okay. All right. So a negative 8 and a positive 8. So if like you owe me $8 and then you pay me $8 back, right? That means you owe me $0. So this equals 0. So we're going to cancel it out. So I'm left with 5x over here equals 22 plus 8, which would get me 30. Okay, now remember, if it's close together like that, that means they are multiplying. Good. You're so good. You're so smart. Okay, so the inverse of multiplying is dividing, because remember we talk about PEMDAS. Okay, if I can write it, PEMDAS. Where multiplying and dividing goes together, adding and subtracting goes together, right? So this is multiplying, so the inverse is to divide. So I'm going to divide by 5. 5 divided by 5 gets me 1, so I cancel it out. X equals 30 divided by 5. If you're sitting there going, 30 divided by 5? 5, 10, 15, 20, 30. There's 6 of them. Then that's perfect. X equals 6. Now we know this is true because 5 times 6 would get me 30. 30 minus 8 gets me 22. Okay, if you notice I just plugged in 6 for x, because 5 times 6 equals 30, minus 8 equals 22. It's a beautiful thing. Okay, next question. We're going to get a little bit more difficult. I think we have 2 more. Yeah, we got 2 more. And then you can get on into your thing. All right. Put my thing down, flip it in reverse. Sorry. Missy Elliott is now stuck in my head. It's fine. Okay, so 9 minus 2x equals 23. Now, if you're sitting there going, what? This is a subtraction, but I got to get rid of the 9 first. You're right. Is this a positive 9 or is that a negative 9? Hopefully you're thinking it's positive because we don't have to put positives anywhere. Well, if I'm going to get rid of a positive 9, then I would have to take that away, which would be a negative 9. Right? Because the inverse of a positive 9 is a negative 9. Okay, beautiful. So I'm going to take away 9. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do the other side. Cancels out because I get 0, so I have negative 2x. Remember, it was subtraction, which is the same thing as saying negative, right? If I take away money from you, it's a negative thing. It's a bad thing, right? So 23 minus 9, if you're sitting there going, oh, I don't know. Well, you could borrow if you want to, or you can count up, but you should end up with 14. Okay, you should end up with 14. Okay, now we're going to do this one right here. We got negative 2 times x, so the inverse of multiplying is dividing, so divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2. I told you it's going to get harder. Now we're dealing with negatives. Okay, so this is still going to equal 1. A negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 2 divided by 2 is still 1, so I'm still going to cancel it out. Okay, now let's remember, a positive divided by a negative gets me a what? Hopefully you said negative, because it is negative. Remember we did this like little cute little mad cat thing? A negative divided by, I'm sorry, a positive divided by a negative equals a negative. So it's like you like cover them up and it gives you the answer. Y'all remember that? No? Okay, it's fine. Just remember, If it's the same sign, it's positive. If it's different signs, it's negative. Right? Because a negative divided by a negative was a positive. But if you have different signs, positive divided by a negative, your answer is going to be negative. And then 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So there's 7 of them. So x equals a negative 7. Yeah? Okay. All right. Let's go to another one. Okay. I'm going to actually give you 2 more because I just realized that I don't have a certain kind on here, and I don't like that. So I'm going to make the one up right now. Don't judge me. It's really hard to make up problems in your head, but I'm going to do it. Okay, I think that's going to work. We're going to find out together. Okay, all right. Yeah, see? We haven't done one like this, right? So you're like, oh, what is that? Remember, this is like a division symbol, right? Division plus 3 equals 8. So we still got to go to the same thing. This is division. I'm not going to deal with division first. I'm going to deal with the addition or subtraction first. So this is an addition sign, so the inverse of addition is subtraction. You're so smart. That's smart. Okay. I got 8 minus 3, which would get me 5, equals x over a negative 2. I don't usually wear hats. Hats are itchy. I don't understand. Okay, it's fine. Fine. Stay on it. Okay. X divided by a negative 2 equals 5. Okay. So the inverse, I hope y'all heard that. It sounds like nails. Let me check. Okay. X divided by a negative 2 equals 5. So hopefully you're sitting there going, oh, division, the inverse of division is... Hopefully you're thinking multiplication, because you'd be right. So we're going to multiply by negative 2. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. Cancel it out, because negative 2 over a negative 2 gets me 1. So then x equals 5 times a negative 2. So remember, it's called a mad cat for a reason. Let's see if I can write this upside down. Multiplying and dividing. So if it's a positive times a negative, you cover those up, and the one that's left over tells me that it's a negative number, or they're different signs, so it's negative. So negative 10. Okay, because it's like having 5 groups of negative 2. So if I had negative 2, negative 2, negative 2, negative 2, and then negative 2. Negative 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I'd have negative 10, right? And if you plug that in, it would make sense, because negative 10 divided by a negative 2, 10 divided by 2 is 5. 5 plus 3 is... it's 8. Go figure. It's like I did the math right or something. Just kidding. Not funny. Okay. Last question. Y'all can do this one. Y'all be fine. I mean, if I can do it, y'all can do it, right? Okay, so a negative 11 equals 4x minus 43. Okay, so hopefully you're sitting there going, Miss Wagner, it's backwards. No, it's not. This is still 2 different sides, right? There's still 2 sides of an equation, okay? So we look and we go, okay, I'm not going to look at this because there's nothing I can do with this negative 11. It's hanging out by itself. It's boring. So I go over to this side and I say, okay, I'm not going to mess with this first. I'm going to go over to here with my subtracting 43. The inverse of subtraction is addition, so I'm going to add 43. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do the other side. Now we got a problem. This is fun. Ooh, this is where we really get into some math. So much fun. Okay, So if you notice right here, we've got two different signs. We've got a negative and a positive. So you can, if you remember the song, what is it? Same sign, add and keep, different sign, subtract. Keep the sign of the bigger number, then you'll be exact. Okay, so let's start over. Same sign, add and keep. Are these the same signs? No. So let's move on to the next part of the line. Same sign, add and keep. Different signs, subtract. So we're going to subtract 43 and 11. 43 minus 11 should get me 32. So same sign, add and keep, different sign, subtract. Keep the sign of the bigger number. So there's more positives than negatives, right? There's more positives here than negatives. So my answer is going to be a positive 32. Okay. So now we go to our next step. This is multiplication. The inverse of multiplication is division. You right. Okay, okay. And then x equals 32 divided by 4. Hopefully you're going, it's 8. Boom. Done. Son. This is the longest video I've made. That's because I gave you way too many examples. And there's way more I could give you. That's the thing about solving equations. Solving equations, there are so many different questions and so many things that you can do. And two-step equations are just the start of what you're going to do in algebra. Okay, so here's the deal. Remember, Google Classroom, all that good stuff. If you have questions, attempt to do everything. Do the assignment online. But the big thing here, honestly, ask me questions and get on the live Zoom. Okay, because if you get on the live Zoom, you can get after it and answer some questions and do all that kind of cool stuff, right? And hopefully you believe in Hat Day too, because it's Hat Day in this house. It's Hat Day at the Wagner house. Except for I'm the only one wearing a hat. So I guess it's just Hat Day in Miss Wagner's world. Whatever, it's fine. I'll just sit here alone during this coronavirus, wearing a hat. But I'll see you at 3 if you need me, right? Love you guys. Have a good day. Bye.